Hello, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the National Parents Union presents Speak Your Truth with yours truly, Vivett Dukes. Hi, how's everyone doing this evening? I'm very, very excited to be here. I'm always excited to be here, even if I'm tired. Once I know that it's time for me to come on and spend this hour with all of you, it really is the highlight of my Monday and Thursday. And thank you all for being here. We really do appreciate it. Um, I have a few things to report. So, first of all, Speak Your Truth had an amazing weekend this weekend. You see it on our Facebook page where we were able to go out into the Central Islip community. I told the viewers about this when I was on Dr. Angeli Laforie's show on Friday. You did check that out if you didn't see that. On the Friday Restorative Nightly Check-In, I was a guest on there Friday and I told you about it. But if you weren't there and you didn't hear, Speak Your Truth was able to give out 100 bags of socks and slippers for families. And we also gave out over 500 books for back to school to members of the Central Islip community on Long Island, New York. So thank you to the House of Judah. That's Pastor Stephen Mangum and Lady Selena Mangum. They allowed us to be a part of this event that they put together with legislator Sam Gonzalez. That is his district, Central Islip, Brentwood, Bayshore. So it was really impactful for us to be there and to just help people. And it is a community on Long Island that is directly impacted by mass incarceration. It has one of the highest rates of incarceration, and also the school to prison pipeline, as well as the school to deportation pipeline, is very prevalent in those neighborhoods. So just felt really good to get out and serve. And I just want to thank everyone who was a part of that. And we continue to do more work. This is the work that the National Parents Union does. These are the types of organizations that are partnered with the National Parents Union, and just really proud of the work that we're doing. I wanted to share that with you all. And encourage you as an individual. You can join the National Parents Union. If you go to the website, nationalparentsunion.org, there's a membership tab. Click on it and join up. If you have an organization yourself, by all means, please join. If We've been doing this for a few months now, so if you've been steadily watching, which I know a lot of you have, and participating, and not just Speak Your Truth, but all the shows that come on. If these broadcasts are helping you, if they are in any way helping you grow and informing you, then please seriously consider joining the National Parents Union. So I just wanted to put that out there. I also wanted to remind the viewers to please vote. We have a campaign, Every Family Votes. Regardless, I'm not telling you who to vote for, but exercise your right to vote. Please get out and vote and make it a family affair. Even if your child is not of age to vote yet, show them the process modeled for them. There are absentee ballots, you can still get them. You can vote by mail. You can do early voting. That's what I personally do, the early voting. So you get to go into the booth days before the actual election on November 3rd, and you go in and vote. It's usually much less crowded, and it's just a nicer experience. But whether it's a nicer experience or not, I'm just really encouraging everyone to support our campaign, Every Family Votes, and to exercise your right to vote. We actually just had a toolkit that came out, an Every Family Votes toolkit. So please check it out and utilize it as much as possible. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I need to show. If anything else comes to me, I'll tell you about it, because definitely I want to keep you informed about what's going on. And Yeah, and let me know if you need any additional information. Oh, this is what I have to tell you too. If anyone is still waiting on their curriculum from me, it is coming. It is in its final copyright stages before I actually send it out. And I've actually partnered Speak Your Truth and the National Parents Union. Well, Speak Your Truth through the grant that the National Parents Union afforded us. We are partnering with Disney Plus to see if they can do a little bit more for us than what we originally ask them to do. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully, we'll be able to get people who sign up more than the 1 month subscription. Nothing in stone yet, but I'm definitely working on it. All of us, not just me, John and I are. So please stay tuned for that. And if you haven't signed up for the curriculum and for the free streaming of Disney Plus on Hulu, please sign up. There is a Google form. I believe it's listed on my page here. I will share it. The National Parents Union has shared it, but please sign up for it. It's a totally free curriculum. You have access to it, and you have some free streaming to help. In particular, families who have decided to homeschool and are in need of some culturally relevant material for their children. Okay? So I think that's it with the announcements for this morning. I'd really like to jump into introducing our guest. Our guest tonight is someone who I've gotten to know through the National Parents Union. I've connected with so many amazing people here, and I mean that in all honesty, not just talking. Seriously, I've met some really wonderful people who are part of the National Parents Union, and our guest tonight is no exception to that. Dr. Angélie Lafoy is a clinical psychologist. She has her doctorate in clinical psychology. She's also a professor. She resides in Arizona, and she is very proud of her Afro-Cuban roots. She is both Cuban and Guatemalan. And I tease her and say I think she's a part Jamaican too, because we've connected so much. And Dr. Angélie, aside from that, has become a very dear friend to me and a trusted confidant, and just a beautiful, beautiful person who is so in tune with not only herself, but with others and with her indigenous roots and with her ancestry. And so without further ado, I'd love for us to bring Dr. Angélie on to engage in a conversation tonight about mental health in the Black and Brown community. Hi,
Hello.
Angélie. Hi.
You see me. Oh, it touches my heart like the way that you see me. It really is a gift to be seen like that fully, and especially given that like we've developed a closeness, but it's short. It hasn't been for very long. So just thank you for how you.
Oh, you're so welcome. It really is an honor to call you my friend. I consider you a sister, a confidant. I really respect the work that you do, because before we ever coined the phrase as friends for one another, you helped me when I was a stranger to you. I was going through know what to call it, just angst
A
about
moment.
the
Yeah.
pandemic moment, like life. And it just felt like everything was coming in. I was sad, I was crying and on air, full
That's
transparency.
what we do here.
And you just really helped me and walked me through it. And one of the things that you taught me that I've continued to do from that day forward is to breathe, get connected with my breath and use that as a way to just get recentered. So I'd like if you could start off. I know you start off your show with this, and I know in full homage to Marisol Quevedo Rerucha. Oh, I hope I said it right. I think
Yeah.
I did.
Soy todo. Yeah. You got
She
it.
is the one who originally introduced me to the breathing, and she does it every night on her show. So yes, without anything further, could you walk us through it, please?
Sure. Like you said, it is a breathing pattern called 478. And actually, I was on her show. And so then it was something that I brought in, right? So it's we just keep cycling, cycling through the information, the knowledge, and sharing it, which is lovely. So anyway, so the way that 478 works is that you inhale for 4 seconds, you hold your breath for 7 seconds, and then you release your breath for 8 seconds. On that 8 second release, it's a little bit longer than what's natural. So you want to make sure you try to release for the full 8 seconds. And then we do that cycle 4 times through. And I'll count it out, right? I kind of sound like an aerobics instructor for a second. Um, yeah, and so this breath pattern is good to reduce anxiety. It's actually really good if you wake up in the middle of the night and you feel like you can't go back to sleep. Actually, Marisol commented one day that she actually used it in that way, and it did help her return to sleep. I use it when I'm just to transition, when I'm like going from one meeting to the next or one thing to the next. It helps me arrive, and that's my intention for why I use it for my show. Besides the fact that people are used to it, I think it's a good way to arrive, to like get centered, be focused, like, okay, I'm here now. Yeah. So I always kind of encourage people I call it uncrossing your body, right? So just meaning like, just be open, right? Whatever that means for you.
Should my feet be planted? Because I know when I do breathing, they say like plant your feet. Should they be planted?
It's not a requirement. So if that's good for you, do it, right? I think there's some people who are like kind of want to get in an Indian style or cross-legged position, if that's good for you and you're used to breathing and doing meditation that way, do that, so that's what I mean. Just whatever is kind of an open position for you. The reason why I'll say more about the reason why I say an open position is how we know about body language, right? So we know when people are like cross-armed and stuff that they're not open. Not that's a different cross-arm. But, but we know that they're like not necessarily willing to receive the information, or we're closing ourselves off. So I want to avoid that, but I always say like one of the titles that I also have is that I'm a hypnotherapist, and so whenever somebody is having kind of like dealing with uncomfortable stuff, one of the ways that they have control over kind of what's occurring is to cross their arms, right? Because it's kind of like, nope, I'm closing off my energy to that. So if it can work to protect us, then we also want to make sure that if we want the benefits, that we open ourselves up too, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the last thing too is I think it's best to close your eyes, or if not, pick a focal point low to the ground. And the reason for that is because our visual field is one of the ones that distracts us the most. So if something crosses our visual field, we're going to kind of, our attention will be diverted. So do what's best for you. All right, so go ahead and close your eyes or cast your eyes down, however it is that you're going to participate in this activity. And then just go ahead and take your natural breath. And as you inhale and exhale, on that next inhalation, take it in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Release. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And so, I don't ever, and it's not often now these days that I get to watch somebody like their face. And so it's actually really lovely to watch your face respond and to feel you kind of come back.
I felt my body like, and I would love if those of you who actually participated also to share in the comments like what you felt during it. The breathing exercise for me, I felt tension.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was holding in things, and then on that release, I literally felt my shoulders drop. I didn't realize when I was inhaling that I was really like squinching up in a way, right? And then the release felt so freeing. And my mind started to just like, I almost would have fell asleep if we would have done a few more, like very, very calm. Yeah.
Well, see, and that's why I say it's good to go to sleep, you know. And so let's talk about that. So what you're talking about is your relaxation response. And, you know, sometimes when I ask people like, oh, how do you know if you're relaxed, you know, or what are you doing with your relax? It's this extreme, right? I'm having a drink or whatever. It's like, there are way more ways for you to recognize that you're relaxed. But if you don't know them, then same with if you don't know your stress response, then there's all these subtle cues as things are building up that you could have paid attention to. So that whole shoulders dropping is absolutely one of the ways that people recognize that they've entered a relaxation response. And it is like the more tense we are, just literally like that space in our neck shortens, right? That's why things like yoga and stretching are good as it's kind of like the chicken or the egg, right? You can attack it both ways. You can stretch the space out and then become relaxed, or you can become relaxed, right? And then that space stretches out. So those are the benefits of exercise, the reciprocal benefits.
Wow. It's
Um,
really wonderful because I do tend to hold tension in my shoulders. Like that's how I'll feel it. That's when I'll know. But by the time I feel it, it's really built up a
yes.
lot. So by that time, I'm like, oh, what did I sleep wrong? What happened? But it wasn't that. It was a lot. And then the breathing definitely helps to start to dissipate some of that tension.
And you know, especially just because I'm going to focus on you just because you're talking about shoulders, you know, then you know what that communicates, right, is that you're literally carrying a lot on your shoulders, right? You know, and the same if any neck issues, just because you're close to the neck in the way that you're describing it, kind of challenges. And so this is coming from like thoughts within Eastern traditions, like Eastern medicine. Rigidity in your neck is one of like inflexibility, you know, and so I'm saying this not only physical inflexibility, but I think of all this as mental or emotional, right? So what issues in your life are you maybe being inflexible on, right? If you have pain in your neck, or unwilling to kind of look at, you know, if you think about the function of the neck is, same with the shoulders, you know, is more so, what are you taking on that doesn't belong to you? What are you taking on that you don't need? You know,
Mhm.
how can you unburden yourself?
Yes,
So
yes, wow.
and that's just one example of relaxation response. I don't know if you want any more or if you want to
I
just.
would, I really invited you on tonight. That was so crucial for you to be here because as individuals, we carry our own level of stress, but as a community, um, Black, Indigenous people of colors and the communities in which we live are just laden, heavy laden with so many things. And unfortunately, mental health or techniques for just, well, let me start with that. Mental health is something that can still, it has a stigma attached to it for many. For those who may have gotten over the stigma or never had the stigma, there still are obstacles in terms of finding a provider that
Mhm.
they trust, that they feel comfortable with. And so I just felt like maybe there are people like me who are like, well, aren't there some things I can do for myself, with myself, ways to breathe and just kind of reconnect. And I know that from our experience that if anyone can help with that, you definitely can. So I just want to provide help.
Sure.
Like go to the doctor, it sounds good, but not everyone's gonna go that route, and I know that every what is a mindset
You're coming in and out. And so,
way.
yeah.
Oh, I'm
Hey,
sorry.
it's
What
okay.
did you hear or what didn't you hear? I apologize.
Yeah, I missed. I only got pieces. I know that you're saying that people, not everyone's gonna, I think, access therapy. It's a different mindset. That was the most.
Yes, but that's what I was asking you, if you could shed some light on ways that people could just kind of implement some things for themselves.
Yeah. So, actually, what we were talking about with just, I would say first, start with like connecting to yourself. Like, I feel like a broken record when I say like that. Self reflection is to me like pivotal, right? I can't imagine doing much else like without having that opportunity to like spend time with yourself. And we're in that time in the pandemic. So for some of us, this has been a hard time because we're having to face things that we pushed under the rug. We're having to face people, right? We're having to face people in our home that like maybe there was some distance or something that again we just weren't paying attention to, and now we have to squarely sit in it, right? So that stillness and sitting in things for the sake of recognition to me is like optimal mental health. And so yes, I'm a psychologist, hypnotherapist, all these things, right? For me, talking works, but I think there's a lot of ways to address your mental health, right? It doesn't just have to be through traditional talk therapy. That's also why I offer meditations and breathing techniques and things like that. So step one, recognize your stress response and your relaxation response. And when I talk about other types of relaxation response, like yawning, right? So that was actually one of the things at the end of we did the breath. I actually wanted to yawn, anything that your body does involuntarily, like if I told you cry right now or like digest, you can't voluntarily make your body do those things. And so whenever you have that response, you know that you're in a state of relaxation. And again, that mind body connection, and just really kind of, I would say, mind body gut connection is key, so there are things that we eat impact our mood and our emotions, right? And vice versa. We talk about like a nervous stomach, right? We talk about that somebody has butterflies in their stomach. And so we think about it that when we're nervous, that's how our body responds. It's the same thing. What we put in our bodies impact our mood, right? I could nerd out on, the vagus nerve, which is literally we have a nerve that goes around the base of our spine, past our heart, all the way down to our tummy, right? And so information that's especially traumatic and stressful goes through that nerve, so we can activate it at any point in time. And so that's why I'm highlighting right now what you eat, right? Can if you eat some
Dr. Anjali?
Vegas, not Vegas like Las Vegas. Vagus, VAGUS, right? The vagus nerve, right? So it's a really important, like I said, in trauma, because if you activate it at any point in time, you can very easily go back into a trauma response, right? So, but the cool thing is if you know about it, then you can also deactivate it, right? Or reduce your trauma response. So yeah, so again, recognizing your stress response and your relaxation responses is one. Two, the reason why, whether you talk to a professional or whether you talk to friends and family, there's so much stigma in Black and Brown communities around just saying I'm in therapy, and it's more of the issues of therapy. Again, I will be honest about my field. My field has done damage, right? My field has done damage with, and it's a part of, right? These systems that have been oppressive. However, that doesn't mean that everyone within the system is bad. And I would say that also the system has done a pretty good job at certain times looking at itself and saying, hey, we are over pathologizing. We are saying that certain groups of people are particularly depressed or particularly this or that. But because of that history, right, we have a stigma that you're not supposed to air your dirty laundry outside of the house, right? And so we need to talk about that within our communities, right? So if you're not going to talk to a psychologist or a therapist, you need to have someone to talk to, because we have to get information out through one way or another, whether it's, if you're not a talker, journaling works, right? But you have to get those ideas out.
I wanted to ask you, go back to the trauma a little bit, because I think in the Black and Brown community, there's so much trauma that at times it becomes normalized. And so it becomes, for me, it's when I see something, I'm like, if you see something, say something. But then if something's said, it's like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. Because that's just part of the self preservation. I get, what is that about?
So actually, what I think we normalize the trauma response is actually every time we go over that, and it's a desire to like, it's a coping strategy. So I'm not even going to make it a bad thing. Like to cope, we've had to like, and to be resilient, and that word means a lot to me. From an indigenous perspective, but it certainly means a lot from a black and brown perspective. So to be resilient, we had to figure out how to like smash down our feelings, right? And we had to figure out how to like, I just had to get stuff done and I have to keep going, admirable in so many ways to be able to push past adversity, but psychologically not healthy, right? And so, I have a daughter. I always think about what the example that I'm giving her and what would I want her to do, right? Because inevitably all of our children and the people we love are going to experience stresses, but I don't want her to be so tough, like that she feels that she can't ask for help. I genuinely don't. I want her to be strong. I don't want that for her. And also, I've seen it in her and I've seen it in me. It doesn't work. It works up to a point. If we take it from a holistic perspective, to cut off any one system and from our bodies or from our just our being, there's always going to be a negative repercussion because that system of emotions, that system of thoughts, they're all meant to work together, right? And so you think about like a bottleneck, right? If we keep cutting off our emotions, it's going to express itself one way or the other. I want to share more about that, but I want to give you a chance to kind of come in and respond.
No, no, I'm following with you. Please go with it. I really want you here tonight to teach less of me, more of you, because it's something that I need personally. And in talking with my sphere of influence in my circle, many of my friends and family, are like, yeah, this is something we need because we get to a point where we realize, like, dag, I've been through a lot. Once you get that exhale, after you keep going and going and plowing through it, I can do it, I can do it. But the minute you kind of step back, you breathe, and you get centered, it brings up a lot too. So then it's like, okay, what do I do with this? Is why I didn't want to do this in the first place, because I don't know what to do with all of these feelings, revelation stuff is coming up. Where did this come from? So it's like, all right, I have someone who can help.
Yay. And when I know we're in serious mode, I got to talk about Jamaica sometimes by the end of this. So, and explain
Okay.
the connection. But okay, so where I wanted to go with this too is we're talking about this trauma response. So there are a couple of ways that we physiologically respond, right, when we're in a just scared period, but for sure in a traumatic situation. And also, this is the other thing too. We think about trauma with a big T, which for sure a lot of us, right, within marginalized communities have experienced trauma with a big T, like assault, interactions with police, fearing that somebody, right, in our life is going to die or pass away. But it can be little t trauma, right? Little t trauma is, I just had a fear, like my heart was racing and I couldn't secure or be sure about the well-being of somebody that I care for, Now, and so then that comes in a car accident. That comes in somebody knocking on the door in the middle of the night and you just waking up in a panic, right? Maybe that response doesn't linger as much as like the big T traumas, right? But it's all trauma. Trauma is essentially fearing for your life or the life of somebody that you love.
Yeah.
And when that is threatened, right? So some of the ways that we respond, right? We're familiar with fight or flight, but I actually like to add two more F's. So fight or flight, right? We either fight, we'll pick a fight, we will get in a fight, we'll get angry, right? We'll respond aggressively because I have to come at you because I feel threatened, right? It's totally from caveman days, right? So the idea of somebody's coming at me, I have to protect myself, I have to then be aggressive. Some of us, we flee, right? Flight, we run away. And that's just like, there's no, like one's not better than the other. I can't beat an 800-pound bear, right? So it's better for us to run away. Again, caveman days, right? Self-preservation. Some of us freeze, which this is still a no, we don't hear about it as much, but again, it's just the physiological response. I'm frozen. I don't know what to do. We get overwhelmed, right? And that's a really hard response that I think for a lot of people sometimes can carry quite a bit of shame of like, why couldn't I do something? You physiologically can't, right? What happens, we call it the amygdala hijack. So literally the fear part of your brain is the amygdala and it's kind of in the back versus you need the front part of your brain, the frontal lobe to think, plan, strategize. And when we get so scared, that part literally shuts down. So you can't hear, meaning, so yes, you can hear physically. No, you can't take in that information,
What
right?
is
You
it
can't.
called again?
The frontal lobe, so literally frontal, Frontal,
And the
frontal,
base of the neck one, what is that called?
amygdala.
Amygdala. Okay, I just want to put the terms out
Yeah.
there because I know people will go back and I'm going to look up vagus. I know the frontal lobe from working with kids has not developed fully until like in their early 20s, and then amygdala. Great. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, and I can go back and put the things in the comments. Actually, as well, when I get a minute here too, I'll put up my email address. Or if we have any of our colleagues, you know, that are in here and want to
You
write
would,
it in the comments.
please, could we write that in the comments if people want to reach out? This is valuable information.
Yeah. So
And
if
for the
we want,
community we represent, particularly, not sorry to interrupt, I just wanted to share this that, incarceration, we all know that's what Speak Your Truth is about, bringing awareness to the harmful impacts of incarceration and reentry. And I really am hoping that members of that community, of which I am a part, will take hold of this as ways to just deal with the myriad of stresses that are coming at them. I see it in my husband. He's a breather, though. He knew about breathing before me as a way to, so I know that this stuff works and I know that it's needed and I know certain populations need it. um, I'm going to say more than others. It's more dire for them to have it than in others, and we need it. So thank you. If I
yeah.
forget to tell you, thank you for the service you're giving us tonight.
My pleasure. This really is a topic that I love, and so and I'll kind of make some connections back to once I get through here of why I love it. It's more than just like sharing information and being a psychologist. It really has, for me, kind of a social justice connection. But anyway,
Fight,
so
flight, freeze. That's what
yeah.
it was for. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. So there's some F words I can't say. And so we don't have, we don't do this right away, right? But once the threat is minimized, or at least like the immediate threat, as far as like, I'm not going to lose my life, some of us seek intimacy to kind of calm ourselves down. We're actually, what we're seeking is connection. And so that is an ultimate form of connection. It's not a bad thing to love on people, but it is a bad thing. It is a bad thing if you're not honest, right? It is a bad thing if you're not honest about the reason why you're wanting the connection is because I'm needing to relax myself, right? I'm needing to feel human. I'm needing to feel some sort of connection. So trauma bonding is very real, right? Where two people kind of get together because they're linked by a traumatic situation. And a similar amount of endorphins, like things that make us feel like we're experiencing a rush and feel good, are similar to the emotions that are released when we're in love. So sometimes we're not in love, we're just in trauma, and the bond of like, wow, you went through that as well. I went through that too. This person understands me so much. You're gonna know if you connected via trauma because in about 3 or 4 months, that's gonna fall off all of that excitement, and then you're going to be staring at this real person that you don't know that you had a really good time with,
Mm-hmm.
so it doesn't mean that you can't develop a relationship, but it's not established off of a stable connection and a connection that can be consistent, right? So some of us, let's see, let me use my vocabulary. Some of us choose fornication. There we go, another F word. Okay. And no shame, I'll be on like I have seen that pattern in my life. I've seen that pattern in my life, especially I'm a widow. So especially after my dad and my husband passed away, I feel like, and I did it in acceptable ways, right? I sought it through people who I maybe could be in a relationship with, right? So some of us are in like year-long relationships that don't function because we're self-soothing, right? Through intimacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big part of my life that I'm actually looking at right now. Um, so
Wow.
the last F, we feed, right? We eat. So again, this is not the most immediate. You're not going to like run away from the bear and then go grab a donut, right? But
Mm-hmm.
as soon as you get back to shelter, right, and you know that, okay, that thread is finished, and literally some of those endorphins and some of that adrenaline ceases, if you immediately kind of want to go to food, it's a soothing, right? Again, no shame on any of these things. These are physiological responses. So the alternative is to deal with the emotion instead, right? And you can deal with it rather actually really immediately with breathing techniques. I'm not going to say that a breathing technique is going to solve everything,
Right.
but legitimately though, it anything that puts you in a relaxation response will help you make better decisions, will help you move forward, and will remove create muscles within your brain that allow you to access relaxation when you need it, as opposed to the stronger muscles that we have because of trauma, because of oppression, right? The stronger muscles that we have to connect to fear and chaos, right? And kind of that stress response. And so that's actually kind of where I get into the social justice link. If we stay in a state of stress for too long, then
Mm-hmm.
that connects to our hormone levels increasing, right? That connects to diabetes, that connects to hypertension, that connects to autoimmune disorders, right? And we know that those are prevalent in communities of color.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm so adamant about relaxation techniques, because you can regrow parts of your brain. You can regrow or alter aspects of your DNA that you then pass on to your children that can get you to crave or to recognize a relaxation response more than you do a stress response. Sorry, I know that was a lot to say there.
That was actually a beautiful gift to know that um, as a middle-aged woman, I could retrain a part of my brain, that we are capable of, as human beings, of retraining parts of our brain, of altering our DNA to make a better future for our grandchildren, great grandchildren. Like that is very powerful. And it's important that we note that, because oftentimes we can feel powerless. You know, like, what do I do? There's so much coming at us. What do we do about it? And to know that we have that within us to do that, I think it's really, it's something to really chew on and get into and make it a part of our routines, because we're out here dying.
Mhm.
Like, I'm too many young people, diabetes, pre-diabetes, like you said, autoimmune disease, thyroids. I have a thyroid issue. It's like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Where does this come from? You know,
Mhm.
how we eat, the food that's available in our neighborhoods. It all ties in.
And actually, so I'm gonna, sorry, you're on the spot because it's your show and we're friends. And the thyroid, again, I find it really valuable, and kind of when I work with people, to connect the spiritual connection to what's going on physiologically. So your thyroid, kind of because of the space where it sits in your around your voice box, right? It's also, it's in an ability or difficulty with speaking. And so the irony is that I'm sure, given the title of this show, given the work that you do, that there was some point in your life when you had trouble speaking your truth, right? Has it gotten better since you stepped into yourself? Your thyroid hasn't been alleviated?
Yes, it has.
Yeah,
Yes, it has.
yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely. But yeah, as you said, it is exciting to me. It is exciting that like we can do something about it, and that's the hard part of like, when we highlight and look at statistics, and they're all depressing. They're all bad. I shouldn't say all. Many of them are bad. Not because good statistics don't exist, because the people who research are very like deficit focused and want to
Mhm.
look at the negative things that are going on. And so I love talking about this because there are things we can do. So anything that falls into the camp of, they're called contemplative, think contemplation. So contemplative practices, yoga, hypnosis, trance, exercise, anything that gets you into that relaxation response. Those are the ways that you regrow parts of your brain, you know. And I'm not, you know, we're not exaggerating. Kind of when I was in undergraduate school, right, when I was in university and college, we thought that our brain growth stopped at a certain age, but now we know that no, it does change, it does continue to develop, because the brain is a muscle. And so yes, we can train it, right, to respond more calmly and to get out of that chronic stress, right? To get out of that chronic environment.
Wow, I did not know that. I too thought that after a certain age, like, well, that's it. You're an adult. You stop growing, like your body, right? You that stop growing now.
Nope, that's why people push things like meditation, you know. Prayer as well. Prayer has that component, so that's something that's really rich within our communities, right? And so the only thing I would say is you want to stay out of what I would call fear-based prayer. So remember we talked about the amygdala. If
Yes.
you're kind of praying like, so forgive me, you're like, I don't want to go to hell, I don't want to go to hell, like that's, you're afraid. That's not your, if you invoke fear in the prayer, then you're activating a fear, you know, response. But as long as it's something that feels, I always talk about expansive, possible, as opposed to constricting, restrictive, right? No shade to any, you know, any particular religion, because all of them do it, right? All of them have kind of, can have fear at the base of it as opposed to love, right? At the base of it. Pray that way. Pray with expansion, pray with possibility, as opposed to praying for fear. That goes for you and other people as well. So there actually, there's a lot that I could say there, but
I would just say from the Christian perspective, the perspective that I know and come from, that's actually biblical. It says, you know, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and of sound mind. So the fear really doesn't have any place in our lives. It is damaging, it is harming to us, and it is not the place that we should approach, from which we should approach life.
and I'll say, you know, one of the limits, again, this is my, like the field of psychology, we can do a disservice because we come at everything from the individual perspective. So everything we're saying right now, yeah, somebody can individually do this work, can individually focus on their relaxation, but we live in communities that aren't relaxing. We're living in situations that are imposed upon us that are not relaxing. And so we have to keep dealing with all of these struggles, right? I own that, and I own that, like, that is not any one individual person's fault, right? So that's why stations like NPU, right? That's why doing all of your work to kind of make your world be a better place, your community be a better place, is important, because that's what we want. That's essentially the, for me, the goal is to reduce the level of stressors, right, that are impacting a community. So if you think of your work, whatever it is that you do, and if that is could be your activism, that would excite me so much, you know. I just want to reduce stress in my life and reduce stress in the life of the people around me. If we just did that as like a nation and a globe, like we would have such healthier people, right? Because then they wouldn't have to constantly be in this fight or flight situation. Do some of the systems want us to stay that way? Yes, I think it's its ultimate divide and conquer. But yeah.
Yeah, but we do have, you know, it starts with each individual and within our families doing that work, and that branches out into our communities, and it will affect our world. If it's, we haven't learned anything else from this pandemic, is that we are globally interconnected. So if you think that something that happens in China does not affect you, think again. It does. We are interconnected on it as a human race, because that is the only race. Race is a social construct.
Yes.
We are all members of the human race. We are connected. And the
And you
more
know,
we realize that, the more we can kind of look past the many uh, on purpose distractions that are being thrown at us.
absolutely. Yeah, to kind of will notice the intentional, yeah, distractions. There was somewhere else I wanted to go with this. Gosh, this has happened to me so much today, like losing my train of thought. It's because I'm tired, but there was a point that I wanted to make. Hmm. Anyway,
Connection, community, healing.
yeah, it'll come back. It'll come back.
We'll talk about Jamaica then. You said you wanted to.
Yes, I know, I did. Okay, so gosh, and it is about community, like it's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, I should have written it down. So
Interrupted you. Sorry.
no. You were talking. It was something in response to what you were saying. But anyway, yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Jamaica. Yeah. So my grandfather was Jamaican. Now I say this, he was my step grandfather, so there isn't a biological connection. We don't hyphenate people, right? Anyway, I don't hyphenate people in my family. That's not how it goes. But so I was raised right around a Jamaican culture, but I don't claim it for the sake of like biological connection. So that's why I tell you, whenever we talk about Jamaica, I was like, there's absolutely like, that's why I started calling him my cousin. Like that connection and that link absolutely exists.
You are my cousin.
Yes, but cousins, sisters, whatever, however our relationship is gonna morph. You're
You are
getting.
family, man. You are family. Muted again. I don't know. I'm sorry. My
It's
wife.
just a little lag. It's okay. It's just a little lag, and I'm just thoughtful about the audience of that, like making sure that they're hearing something. Keep going. There you go. Yeah, you'll come in and out. So
This is what live is, guys. It's real. It really happened. Thanks
it,
for your patience. Is the Wi-Fi.
the Wi-Fi is yeah, it's going crazy. Yes.
It is. Wow. We have like 15 minutes left. Do we have anything in our comments, perhaps? Are there any tips that you've provided a lot of information for us to go back and look at? I'd like to know really how you got into this work. I'm always interested in the history. Like, how did you become? First of all, I don't know many Cuban Guatemalan women who have their doctorate. First of all, that is a big deal. That's why I make a point of calling you Dr. Anjali. Guys, I'm so obnoxious with it. We haven't been out like in public yet, but wait, don't let me get in a room with her. Like, Dr. Anjali, say her name and her title and get it right. Yeah.
Which I appreciate. Let's let people in on that joke. Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate MPU. Always honors my title. In fact, so this time on my little name right below at the bottom of my screen, I did put in the doctor. But the reason why I put in the continue to put it in, because I've been trained. Because for months I would just come in as Anjali, and like I'm sure Natasha or somebody would come in and like adjust it and put in the doctor title. I was like, okay. So I'm proud of it, right? I'm happy, but in no way do I want to like separate myself, and so I always say I'm just Anjali. But okay, how did I become? I'm sorry, in the comments,
Okay.
people
Well,
are.
we're proud of you because if anything goes wrong in our communities, we all bear that weight. So when someone's doing something right, listen, I'm claiming it too. You did that doctorate for all of us, girl, and we're proud of you because we know it wasn't easy. I don't know what you went through, but I can only imagine, even through my own walk educationally. Academia is a very, there are not a lot of us in academia. I'm just going to say that.
No, it's grimy. It's its own different level of grime. Yeah. No, thank you. And I do. And so I have to get over myself too, where I recognize that you all are recognizing the title because it is special, right? It isn't common. And in fact, that's what I tell my students as well. So those are the only people I ever make call me doctor. And I tell them because I'm re-socializing you, right? So you all, right, nobody is accustomed to seeing this face have a doctor title in front of it because literally, yeah, statistically, like maybe 1%. I have no idea how many Cuban Guatemalan doctors there are. That blows my mind to try to think about that. And then Afro-Cuban, I have no idea. But anyway, whatever it is, the number is small. So thank you for honoring that. But you asked, how did I get into this work? So from early on, I knew that I was 13 and I was saying I wanted to be a therapist. In fact, a marriage therapist. So I would listen to my parents and I would just, kind of normal arguments, right? Nothing physical or anything like that, just literally a disagreement. And I would coach them in my mind. So there, in one particular house that I'm remembering, we had a set of stairs, right? So I would kind of stand on the middle landing. Their room was at the top of the stairs, and I would sit on the landing because like I also knew like I'm not supposed to be listening, right? So I'd kind of hide there. And I'm the oldest in my family, and there's three of us. So I would hang out there. My brother and sister would be playing kind of in the living room, and I was trying to block in both directions. I was in my mind coaching my parents, like literally like saying like, Dad, I wish you would say this, Mom, I wish you would say that. And then I also didn't want my brother and sister to be impacted by it. Not that they were, you know, that actually fully speaks to who I am and my sensitivities. Later on in life, my dad would always say that, like, yeah, you're the type of person who, when things aren't right in the house, you feel it. And so, like, I'll have bad dreams or whatever. My relationships are really important to me. And so, when there's not stability or like cohesion or yumminess, you know, in a relationship that is important to me, it actually really bothers me. So anyway, so that's why at 13 I was saying that. And then as life kind of went on, actually, so I'm going to say this not to brag, but I'm going to say this so that people know that this is the thing. I went to undergrad. My parents are immigrants, so I didn't have a lot of support. I didn't have a lot of support as in knowledge of like, this is the path that you take. Support, yes, as in go for it, but not, nobody could like tell me how to fill out a FAFSA form. Like I did it first and then I taught my siblings, right? So I learned when I was in undergraduate school that you could directly go from your undergraduate degree to your PhD. So I was a direct admit. I actually kind of skipped a master's, and I only again I say that not to brag. I say that because had somebody had a classmate in in my classes not told me that, I wouldn't have known, right? And so it allowed me to kind of accelerate and move through some of my career a little bit faster. Like you said, there were delays. There were big delays because in the time that I was in graduate school, I became a widow. Like my father passed away. All these things happened. I always say like I very much lived through my degree as opposed to allowing my degree to consume me in my life. So then that meant that it took me a long time to finish, but you know, I did it, I finished. The last thing I want to say too is as I was trying to decide, okay, fine, I can become a psychologist. I've learned this new term. I knew that I wanted to do direct client work, right? So I wanted to do therapy, but I also had a heart for social justice work. And so I was trying to decide between like, okay, psychology, sociology, what I want to do. Once I learned about counseling psychology, and now all parts of psychology kind of address aspects of, diversity and social justice. But once I learned that counseling psychologists do both, I was like, cool, I can do both. I can still see clients and I can still do this research and have the conversations that I want to have. So it was a wonderful marriage for me.
Are you currently doing research?
I'm not currently doing research. Definitely part of communities, right? And you're always around it within a teaching profession. And I have before, obviously, like to complete, my degree, I had to conduct research. So, but that's the one hat that as a psychologist I'm not wearing. So we can be practitioners, right? We can be educators, we can be researchers, and also assessment, right? So doing like assessing, for example, something like autism, right? Autism, assessing things that require a diagnosis within the psychological realm. So, yeah.
Any books on your horizon? Putting that out there.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Thank you. I think if I need an agent, I know who to contact. Yeah. I mean, I definitely have one in me. Have I sat to write it? No. Are there lots of things that I've written that are coming together? Sure. I think more of the next horizon for me is actually doing this work, right? Which is why I love it so much, like doing more media-based work, speaking, and of course, out of that, a book is kind of a natural next step. But no, I don't have anything set, but I've had enough experiences to write them down and document them.
Coming soon to a tour near you once we're all released from this COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Anjali Lafourie will be coming with a book tour to promote her latest book. Please stay tuned.
She's proclaiming it, and so I accept.
When can people see you on the national? You're a guest tonight, but you actually have your own show.
I do. I do. So you brought up Marisol. So that's the nightly restorative check-in. And so that airs every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I host the Friday portion. So 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. You were my guest on Friday, so we just traded places, right? Yeah, and when we think about the nightly restorative check-in, the idea behind it is it's that check-in. It's on a Friday when you're with your people, when you're with your loved one, where you get to like cuddle up, chill, and have somebody actually ask you like, hold on, how are you? How are you? Like, how did your week go? And we don't have to give that like automatic, I'm fine. You know, we don't have to ignore our emotions or just our story, right? Just because we're trying to get through the week. So that's what the Friday nightly restorative check-ins are about. I'm really enjoying it. I love all the guests that I've brought on. So
I love it because it's like group therapy to me. Honestly, that's what it feels like because they are regular. I'm a top fan, and there are regular people that come on. So I'm like, oh, Judith is gonna be there. Maritza is gonna be there. I'm gonna be there. It's just like, hey fam, what's up?
you
Let's all.
are you are a top fan, and Christina as well. So Christina last year, like all four, and which is so lovely. Like it's it's Black and brown women supporting one another, right, on our shows, and I try to do the best that I can to kind of catch yours as well. But yeah, we're just supporting each other. You know, we're amplifying each other's voices. We're getting fed and nourished. And we help each other too, like with little things right now. I like Judith is in there and posted my email address in the comments. I love that I know that you all are there and I can ask you all, can you like do this for me so that I don't have to like break, right? And get on Facebook and minimize my screen, and we can just take care of each other like that. And that's actually, I think, a big thing that's coming from this pandemic. I finally remember what I was going to say. Yes. Yes. Okay. So I think another thing that's happening with this pandemic that we're not aware of
Mhm.
is that Natasha's in the comments talking about a book tour. Anyway, okay, because I'm seeing them on my phone. Um, you guys are going to distract me so much. Okay, so anyway, on top of this pandemic, we don't realize that we're also sensing and feeling other people's emotions. And I would even say, like, just globally, we're sensing and feeling what's going on. So as I'm seeing clients, um, for sure, people's depression and anxiety is worse. And there's some people that I'm seeing that I know that nothing has shifted in their life. And so there's quite a bit of acknowledgement, right, and conversation around, are you just feeling the world right now? So I want to tell people that not everything that we sense and feel is our own, and we are not told that enough. This is such a big part of the work that I do with other people, being able to discern, right, and distinguish this sense of anxiety, this dread, this sadness, whatever it is, this achy pain that came into me. I want you all to get in the habit of asking yourself, is this mine or is this someone else's? Because if it's someone else's, then you deal with that differently, right? My fear is most of the time what happens is we go along like, I just stress, I got all the stress on me, and that we then begin to medicate it the way in all these bad F word ways, right, that I mentioned, right? That we'll feed ourselves, we'll consume alcohol, we'll do things that just aren't in our highest good. But if you know how to check in, right, then you can ask yourself, no, this isn't my emotion. And so then even just realizing that it's not yours often allows that emotion to dissipate, because your body doesn't have to take it on. But for a lot of reasons, one being like these decisions we made as a society to think that the mind and the body are separate, that's a Western concept. Then because of that, anything that we experience, we think it's just within us. It's also part of the individualism that we experience in the US or in the Western world. We think everything that I experience is just me. It doesn't have to do with anyone else. And that's really detrimental.
Dr. Anjali, thank you so much for being here tonight. You've been a blessing, truly. You are a blessing, truly. And I just love the way that you are shifting the narrative around Black and Brown communities and bringing to the forefront who we truly are, not from a deficit based perspective, but from one of love, of unity, of togetherness, of great power, of great compassion. That is who we are. That is who we are, and you are representative of that. And I know that the lineage from which you come is very proud of who you are and what you're doing for your community. I'm very proud of you. And I need you to know that you are uplifting, you are encouraging. Yeah, I'm getting emotional. You are encouraging to your people.
Mm.
When we see you, when we hear you, it brings a sense of, well, if she could do it, I can do it. That's what representation matters. Someone I can really have access to. It's one thing to have a superstar. They're there, but they're not. But when it's a regular home girl like you from the hood, it's just like, yeah, yeah, mama, I made it. Daddy, I made it. Like, yes, it's real and it's beautiful. And I love you. I love you for all that you are and all that you do and just who you are. Thank you.
Thank you. You're gonna make me cry. So thank you. It's my pleasure, and I thank you for reminding me and rooting me that my accomplishments are not just my own, right? That I'll end off with this. Like I always think about my grandmas, you know, whenever I have accomplished something, that I had two women who are a part of my lineage that came from their respective countries, left difficult marriages, left everything, even at some left their children and then sent back for them, you know? And so whenever I do my work, especially when I'm working with Black and Brown families, I think about my grandmothers and I think about like who helped them, right? Who gave them the information that they needed. And so that's what prompts me. So thank you for reminding me of that.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to our viewers for being with us this evening. We will be back again on Thursday for Speak Your Truth. We have slews of shows in between, of course. Go to the National Parents Union and check it out. So I'll be back on Thursday, and Dr. Anjali will be on Friday.
Yeah.
And we thank you. Until we meet again, have a wonderful evening and have a good night. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.